Time Magazine, every year they do it. They've been doing it a long time, since 1927. 2015 Time Person of the Year. Let's go to Tom Weber, executive editor of Time Magazine. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. How are you?
All right. Lots of people to choose from. Who did you guys pick?
Our Person of the Year for 2015 is Germany's Chancellor, Angela Merkel.
All right. I got to tell you.
All right, let me have it.
All right. I think you guys whiffed a little bit.
Well, we believe that this was a year in which the Chancellor showed kind of astounding levels of leadership in two huge stories of global significance. The first almost seems like no big deal because it has gotten resolved to such an extent, but it was the debt crisis that threatened the entire global economy with Greece in default, and she stepped forward there and got the job done there. And if you remember it seems like a little abstract at this point, but CNBC you could turn on any day back then, and people were getting pretty worried, not just about Greece, but about the value of their retirement accounts in America if the Eurozone started to run into trouble. So we thought that was a pretty major accomplishment right there. And then the refugee crisis in Europe starts to grow and grow, and it's a tough time for a leader to stand up and say something like, we are going to welcome these people, in this humanitarian crisis into our country. But she kind of rose to that challenge to set an example for the rest of Europe. And obviously, a lot of controversy in, her handling in all of those, but, also undeniable influence.
Tom Weber, executive editor of Time Magazine. It's not who's the best, right? It's the one who creates the most change, the biggest influence on the year, good or bad, right?
Yeah, it's about influence and impact.
Okay, so with that being said, you guys are sitting around the room. If you would have gone with somebody who's white hot right this second, like a Donald Trump, like a Caitlyn Jenner who's on the list, you would have garnered a lot more publicity and would have gotten a lot more web traffic if you would have done that. How much of the PR value is in that room when you make this choice?
I don't think we are. We're certainly not driven by by that. I mean, it comes up in discussions naturally, but we have a pretty traditional and extensive process around doing this, and it starts months in advance, and the entire editorial staff, people here in New York, our team in bureaus around the world call in for it, and it's almost kind of open mic. Everybody gets a chance to speak to the entire group and make a pitch for somebody that they think deserves consideration as Person of the Year, and we move on from there, reporting out some of the most promising or revealing options, and we have a lot of internal discussions. So there's no
there's no PR value attached to any of this. Is what you're saying.
I think people will make of it what they will. You mentioned Trump. I mean, it was obviously a big year for him, and I heard from a lot of my friends as this went on. You guys, it's going to be Trump. I would point out there that we have never had a presidential candidate as the Person of the Year, and the next year will really be kind of the biggest test of influence for Donald Trump, and whether he can win over the American electorate. And if that happens, people who have been elected president of the United States have significantly upped their chances in the past of becoming Person of the Year.
So there's still time for Donald Trump to be Time Person of the Year, is what you're saying?
Yes. So there's still time, but it's a long year between now and next November.
Yeah.
That's a story that we are all looking forward to covering.
1927, Man of the Year started as Man of the Year. It was Charles Lindbergh who flew the Spirit of St. Louis.
That's right, and it was not actually right after the flight. He was not on the cover right when that happened, but it was a decision. Those early editors of Time, that they liked focusing on people in the news, and that's a tradition that that we really uphold today. Looking at the people who shape events, and they got to that point and put him on the cover, and they put a label on it that said Man of the Year.
Yeah, and then another German chancellor back in 1938 named Adolf Hitler was another Person of the Year.
What I'm glad you point that out, because and actually we have on our short list this year the leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi. It's not an award, and as you mentioned, Hitler was Man of the Year. At that point, we never look at it as an award or as an honor. In some years it goes to people who I think most people would look at and say they're doing honorable work.
Right.
But it is not about good or bad. It's really about impact and influence, which sometimes can be for the worse.
Tom Weber, executive editor of Time Magazine, Angela Merkel, German chancellor, Person of the Year. Tom, thanks for checking in.
Great, thanks very much.
811 Big 550 KTRS. Some poll numbers are out on New Hampshire. Wait till you hear these numbers. 811 Big 550 KT.